Somewhere beneath 2,000 meters of ocean, a submarine pilot cuts his engines and goes completely still. His lights sweep across the darkness, and what appears in front of him should not exist. A shoreline, at the bottom of the ocean, a body of water sitting calmly inside another body of water, with its own surface, its own waves, its own current, behaving exactly like a lake on land. Every animal that touches it dies, not slowly, on contact. Scientists have watched crabs, eels, and fish approach this lake, make contact, and stop moving forever. These are called brine pools, and there are hundreds of them sitting silently on ocean floors all over the planet, in the Gulf of Mexico, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, and we have been living directly above them our entire existence without knowing. This is the killing zone, a permanent ring of the dead surrounding a lake that has been operating in total darkness, completely undisturbed, for millions of years. And what scientists found living inside it will change the way you think about life itself. To understand what you are looking at, you need to start with salt. Because what makes a brine pool is not just water. It is water pushed so far beyond its natural limits that it becomes an entirely different substance. Normal ocean water sits at about 3.5% salinity, enough to keep a human body floating. But brine pools are up to 8 times saltier than that, so dense and so heavy they behave like an entirely different substance. Salt makes water so heavy it sinks to the ocean floor and refuses to mix with anything above it, building its own shoreline, its own surface, its own current. 2 completely separate bodies of liquid divided by nothing more than density. That boundary, where the 2 liquids meet without ever mixing, is called the halocline. It looks like a lake surface. It reflects light like a lake surface. It ripples like a lake surface. Except you are already completely underwater. According to researchers at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, submarine pilots have physically landed their vehicles on brine pool surfaces and used them as parking pads. The brine dense enough to hold the full weight of a research submarine. But the density is only the beginning, because the same geological forces that create extreme salt water also drag something far more dangerous up from deep beneath the ocean floor. And that is where brine pools stop being merely strange and start being genuinely deadly. Methane strips the oxygen out of the water. Hydrogen sulfide attacks the nervous system directly, causing paralysis within minutes. And the salt concentration causes every living cell it touches to collapse from the outside in. All 3 mechanisms hitting simultaneously the moment anything crosses that boundary. Scientists have described brine pools, without exaggeration, as one of the most chemically hostile natural environments on the surface of this planet. 3 killing mechanisms operating in perfect silence inside a lake that looks almost peaceful from the outside. This specific pool in the Gulf of Mexico was given a name that has stuck in scientific literature ever since: the Jacuzzi of Despair. Its water reaching over 100 degrees Fahrenheit while the surrounding ocean sits near freezing. The EV Nautilus team filmed crabs walking directly into it, stopping on contact and waiting, still alive, completely unable to move, at the edge of a lake they had no way to understand. For most of human history, the deep ocean was not just unexplored, it was unknowable. The pressure at depth destroys equipment. The darkness makes observation impossible. And the cost of going there meant that for centuries, everything below a few hundred meters was pure speculation. In 1964, that began to change. In the Red Sea, a team of oceanographers lowered a temperature sensor on a cable to take routine measurements at depth, and the readings that came back made no sense whatsoever. The temperature spiked dramatically at a depth where the water should have been near freezing. The salinity readings exceeded the range of their instruments entirely. They pulled the equipment up, checked it for faults, found nothing wrong, and lowered it again. Same readings. What further investigation revealed was not one anomaly, but three. Three separate brine pools stacked at different depths in the same location, named the Atlantis II Deep, the Discovery Deep, and the Chain Deep, after the research vessels that found them. The Atlantis II Deep alone covers approximately 60 square kilometers, larger than many cities, and the water inside was registering 68 degrees Celsius, in the deep ocean, in water that should be just above freezing. The Discovery sent a wave through the oceanographic community. If formations this large existed in the Red Sea, they could exist anywhere. And over the following decades, as technology improved, the answer came back from every ocean on Earth: the Gulf of Mexico, the Mediterranean, the Black Sea, the Gulf of Oman. Brine pools on nearly every ocean floor on the planet. Not rare geological anomalies, but a permanent feature of the deep ocean that had simply been invisible to us because we had no reason to look for them. And with each new discovery came the same question: how long have these things been here? The geological answer forces a genuine reckoning with deep time. Brine pools form from ancient salt deposits left behind by seas that evaporated before complex life existed on this planet. Water percolates downward through millions of years of sediment, reaches that ancient salt, dissolves it, and the resulting brine migrates slowly upward through cracks in the ocean floor, a process so slow it takes millions of years to complete. Some of the brine pools active in our oceans today began forming over 5 million years ago, sitting in perfect darkness, utterly undisturbed, since before the first members of the human genus walked across the African savanna. Let us be precise about what actually happens at the killing zone. Because from the outside, it does not look like death. It looks almost peaceful. An animal approaches. It touches the boundary, and then it simply stops. No struggle, no dramatic thrashing, no visible wound, just stillness. And that stillness, if you understand what caused it, is one of the most disturbing things in the natural world. The first mechanism is osmotic shock. When any living cell makes contact with brine 5 or 6 times saltier than its own body fluid, osmosis takes over immediately. Water is pulled out of the cell through its membrane faster than any nervous system can detect or respond to. Cells collapse inward. Tissue fails from the surface in. The second mechanism is hypoxia. Brine pools associated with methane seeps are anoxic environments. The methane has displaced virtually all available oxygen. Any animal that spends more than a brief moment near the pool boundary begins to suffocate inside water that looks identical to the water it has been breathing its entire life. There is no visual warning. The oxygen is simply gone. The third mechanism is hydrogen sulfide toxicity. At the concentrations found inside active brine pools, hydrogen sulfide is a direct neurotoxin, binding to enzymes inside the mitochondria of cells and shutting down cellular respiration at the biochemical level. Motor control fails progressively. Paralysis sets in within minutes and does not reverse. All three mechanisms hit simultaneously the moment an animal crosses the boundary. And what makes the killing zone especially efficient is that animals are actively drawn to it. The chemical signals emanating from brine pools register to marine life as the signature of a food source, drawing them directly to their death. Scientists have documented something even more unsettling about how this system functions. The paralyzed creatures at the pool edge attract large predators, sharks, deep-sea fish, who feed on the immobilized animals without ever touching the brine themselves. The pool kills, the dead attract, the predators feed, and the pool has been running this cycle in complete darkness, with no input from the surface world for millions of years. A self-contained economy of death that no one knew existed until 60 years ago. And yet, something lives. Not near the brine pool, not around it, not despite it, inside it. In the exact zone where every mechanism of death is operating at full intensity, there is a thriving, complex, abundant ecosystem built on a completely different set of rules. These organisms are called extremophiles, life that has evolved specifically to inhabit conditions that would destroy any conventional biology. And the communities found inside brine pools are not simple organisms barely clinging to existence. They are thriving, complex, and according to research published in peer-reviewed journals, biochemically unlike anything found anywhere else on Earth. Tube worms, up to 2 meters long, anchor themselves at the brine pool edge and absorb hydrogen sulfide through their plumes, the same chemical that kills most marine life in minutes. Inside their bodies, symbiotic bacteria convert that hydrogen sulfide into chemical energy through chemosynthesis, building complex biology out of toxic gas, in complete darkness, with no sunlight involved at any stage. Pale eyeless shrimp navigate the pool edge entirely by chemical sensing. Vision is useless here. Specialized crabs make brief, calculated forays into the transition zone to feed and retreat before the toxicity overwhelms them. Entire food chains running not on sunlight and photosynthesis, but on sulfur and chemistry, operating silently on the ocean floor, while the rest of the world above goes about its business completely unaware. What researchers have argued, and what the evidence increasingly supports, is that brine pool ecosystems represent a genuinely alternative model of life. One that does not require the sun. One that does not require the atmosphere. One powered entirely by the chemistry of the Earth itself. If you removed everything above it, if the ocean evaporated, if the atmosphere stripped away, if the sun went dark, this community would continue, unchanged, sustained by the planet alone. And that single fact transforms brine pools from a strange, deep-sea curiosity into one of the most scientifically significant discoveries of the last 100 years. A world within a world, a complete ecosystem running in permanent darkness on the chemistry of the Earth itself, completely self-sufficient, completely isolated, completely unknown to science until just decades ago. Right here, on the floor of our own ocean. In 2020, a research team working in the Red Sea published findings that forced scientists to completely revise their understanding of how large these formations could be. During a deep-sea survey off the coast of Saudi Arabia, they found something that exceeded every previously documented brine pool, not by a small margin, but significantly. Located at a depth of approximately 1,770 meters, this pool had a brine layer over 200 meters deep in places. The salinity inside reached 8 times that of normal seawater. The research team described it as one of the most extreme natural environments ever documented on the surface of this planet. But the scale was not the most significant part of what they found. What made this discovery genuinely important to science was what was preserved inside the brine. Because brine pools, with their near-zero oxygen and extreme salinity, create conditions profoundly hostile to the bacteria responsible for decomposition. Organic material that falls into a brine pool does not rot. It is preserved. Organic matter inside a brine pool is effectively embalmed. The absence of oxygen eliminates the microbial decomposition that would normally destroy organic material within days. The salinity inhibits any remaining biological activity. Material can sit on the pool floor for thousands of years in a state of near-perfect preservation. According to the research team, the sediment layers inside contained a geological record stacked like tree rings, encoding information about deep-sea conditions, seismic events, and mass die-offs reaching back further than any comparable record in the region. Tsunamis leave a layer, earthquakes leave a layer, volcanic eruptions leave a layer, each one perfectly sealed and preserved. Researchers have begun referring to certain brine pools as natural time capsules, geological archives more complete and more intact than almost any other sediment record available to science. Windows into events that happened long before any human being was alive to witness them, perfectly preserved in a lake that should not exist. Now we leave the ocean entirely, because the discovery that complex life can thrive inside brine pools with no sunlight, almost no oxygen, extreme chemistry, and crushing pressure did something to the scientific conversation about life in the universe that cannot be undone. It dismantled an assumption. That assumption was this: liquid water plus sunlight equals the necessary conditions for life. Every ecosystem we had ever found ran on the sun, directly or indirectly. The sun was not just important, it was assumed to be non-negotiable. Brine pools proved that equation is wrong. Life does not need the sun. It needs chemistry. It needs energy. And those two things exist in places where sunlight has never reached and never will. Europa, the fourth largest moon of Jupiter. Beneath its frozen surface, beneath an ice shell estimated to be between 10 and 30 kilometers thick, lies a global ocean containing approximately twice the liquid water of all of Earth's oceans combined. No sunlight reaches it. It is driven entirely by tidal and geological energy, the same categories of energy that drive brine pool ecosystems at the bottom of our own sea. Before brine pools were understood, Europa was considered an unlikely candidate for life. Too far from the sun, too cold, too isolated. After brine pools, that reasoning collapses, because brine pools proved that an ocean driven by planetary chemistry with no connection to sunlight can sustain complex ecosystems. By that standard, Europa's ocean may be one of the most genuinely habitable environments in the solar system. There is also Enceladus, a moon of Saturn. In 2005, the Cassini spacecraft detected plumes of water vapor erupting from its south pole, material from a subsurface ocean ejected through cracks in the surface ice into space. Those plumes were later found to contain organic compounds, molecular hydrogen, and silica particles consistent with active hydrothermal processes on the ocean floor below, the same category of geological activity associated with brine pool environments on Earth. NASA's Europa Clipper mission, launched in October 2024 and currently in transit toward the Jupiter system, carries instruments designed specifically to assess whether Europa's ocean has the chemical conditions necessary for life. Expected to reach Jupiter in 2030. One of the frameworks guiding what it is looking for was built in large part from what scientists learned studying brine pools at the bottom of our own ocean. The answer to whether we are alone in the universe may not come from pointing telescopes at distant stars. It may come from finally understanding what is already living at the bottom of the ocean we have been sailing across for thousands of years. We have sent spacecraft to the edge of the solar system. We have mapped the surface of Mars in more detail than many regions of our own planet. We have pointed our instruments at galaxies 13 billion light-years away and analyzed the chemistry of stars that no longer exist. And yet, according to NOAA, less than 20% of Earth's own ocean floor has been meaningfully explored. Less than 20% of the largest habitat on the planet we were born on? We know the surface of Mars better than we know the floor of our own ocean. Brine pools were not hiding in some inaccessible corner of a distant sea. They exist in the Gulf of Mexico, one of the most economically active, most commercially surveyed, most heavily trafficked bodies of water on Earth. And we found them by accident 60 years ago, when a temperature sensor gave an unexpected reading. They had been there for millions of years, killing things, preserving things, sustaining entire ecosystems in total darkness, directly beneath us, completely unknown. That is not a comfortable fact, because if something this large, this active, this biologically complex was sitting undiscovered in the Gulf of Mexico, what is sitting undiscovered in the 80% of ocean floor we have never looked at? What ecosystems exist down there that we have no framework for? Every time we have gone deeper, we have found something that required us to rewrite what we thought we knew. The tube worm colonies rewrote the rules of ecosystems. The brine pools rewrote the rules of chemistry and survival. Whatever is waiting in the unexplored 80% will rewrite something else, and we do not yet know what. Somewhere beneath the ocean right now, in the dark, under the pressure of 2,000 meters of water, a lake that should not exist is sitting on the ocean floor. It has been there for millions of years. Animals are dying at its edge. Strange things are living inside it. It is preserving history in its depths that no human being has ever read. And it is waiting, as it has always waited, for the next light to find it. This is mysterious nature, and this is just the surface.